when my husband tossed my carefully crafted gift onto the kitchen table like it was junk. Something inside me broke wide open. "What's this, Claire?" he sneered, waving a hand at the scrapbook I'd spent weeks piecing together. "Cheesy photo collection? You're out of your mind." My fingers tightened around the edge of my chair, but I held my ground. "My name's Claire Dawson. I'm 35. And I'd poured years into my marriage with Nathan, convincing myself love meant enduring his constant put-downs. That scrapbook filled with memories of our vows, our travels, our hopes was my last-ditch effort to save us. But as he stood there, tearing it apart, I saw him for what he was, a man who'd never valued me. His betrayal was about to cost him everything, and I was done shrinking to fit his world. This was the moment I'd take back. My life. And he'd never see it coming. I took a deep breath, my voice steady despite the hurt. "I thought you'd like something meaningful, Nathan." He rolled his eyes, pacing our Denver apartment, the city's skyline flickering through the window. "Us. I'm sick of your sentimental crap. You could have gotten me something useful. But no, you waste time on this garbage. It's embarrassing." His words cut deep, but I refused to let them show. "Nathan, he interrupted, his tone sharp. "You don't get it, Claire? This isn't working. You aren't working. I need someone who brings something real, not this pathetic attempt at feelings." My stomach churned. "What are you saying?" He smirked, leaning against the counter. "I'm done, Claire. I'm leaving you. I've met someone, Isabel. She's 24, full of energy, fun, everything you're not." The words hit like a slap, but I kept my face neutral. "And you think this is how you tell me?" I asked, my voice trembling but firm. "After I put my heart into this." He laughed, cold and cruel. "Your heart's the issue." For a moment I sat there, his words echoing in my head. Then something unexpected happened. I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, but a real, defiant one that cut through the room. Nathan's eyes narrowed. "What's so funny?" I stood, still chuckling, and picked up the scrapbook. "You have no idea what you're walking away from." I flipped to the back, pulling out a folded document tucked in the final page. Holding it up, I said, "This is the deed to a mountain cabin I bought for us. I was going to surprise you. Tonight, guess Isabel won't be enjoying those sunsets, will she?" His jaw dropped, his smugness evaporating. You bought a cabin?" I slipped the deed into my purse, smiling. "It's mine now." Nathan's face twisted with panic. "You bought a house. Since when do you do things like that?" I tilted my head, my voice calm but pointed, "Since I realized I can't rely on you for anything that matters. While you were chasing fun with a 24-year-old, I was building a future for us." "My mistake for thinking you wanted it," he stammered, grasping for control. "You're overreacting. This doesn't change anything. Sybil and I cut him off, my tone final. "Take Isabel. Take your fun life and get out of mine. You've made it clear where I stand." I turned to our bedroom, his protests fading behind me. As I packed a small bag, I glanced at the photos on the nightstand, our wedding, a ski trip, moments I'd held dear. They felt like echoes of a life I'd outgrown. Nathan paced the living room, muttering about my drama, but I tuned him out. When I returned, he stood by the door, trying to look composed. "You're really leaving?" he asked, incredulous. "I am," I said, brushing past him. "This is ridiculous, Claire," he snapped. "You'll regret this." Kibe. At the door, turning back. "Maybe. But I won't regret staying in a marriage where I'm just your punching bag." I stepped into the chilly Denver night, the air sharp against my face. Driving away, the deed safe in my purse, I felt a weight lift. I wasn't just leaving Nathan, was leaving the Claire who'd begged for his approval. He could have his fling. I was done playing the devoted wife in his selfish story. I drove to my best friend Rachel's house, knowing she'd understand without judgment. When she opened the door, her eyes narrowed. What did he do now? I sighed, stepping inside. Kitchen, please. Minutes later, we sat at her small table, a glass of Merlot in my hand. Spill, she said, leaning forward. I told her everything: the scrapbook, Nathan's cruelty, his affair with Isabel, the cabin. When I mentioned the deed, her jaw dropped. He called you pathetic after you bought a cabin for him, she said, her voice rising, and then admitted he's leaving for some 24-year-old. Claire, are you serious? I swirled my wine, nodding. That's Nathan. Always so sure I'd just take it. Rachel grinned, her shock turning to pride. But you didn't. You walked out, kept the cabin. Damn, Claire. You're a force. Her words ignited something in me. I hadn't just left Nathan. I'd reclaimed my power. What's next? She asked. I exhaled, the question heavy. I don't know. I've been so focused on fixing us, I'm not sure who I am without him. She squeezed my hand. You'll figure it out. One step at a time. Stay here tonight. No arguments. I smiled, grateful. Thanks, Rachel. That night on Rachel's couch, exhaustion hit, but beneath it was a quiet thrill. Nathan was no longer my burden. I'd spent years twisting myself to please him, and now I was free. The future was uncertain, but it felt alive with possibility. Morning brought a flood of notifications, 12 missed calls, 22 texts, all from Nathan. Asterisk, where are you? This is childish. Claire, we need to talk. Asterisk, I laughed at the irony. He'd discarded me, yet here he was, acting betrayed. Rachel shuffled in, coffee in hand. Nathan. I held up my phone. He's losing it. She smirked, setting the coffee down. Good. He's not used to consequences, but he's getting them now. Later, a text from Nathan caught my eye. Asterisk, I'm coming by the house tonight. Need to fix this. The audacity, he still thought he had a claim to my asterisk home. I considered texting back telling him to stay away, but Rachel's advice echoed, let him stew. I ignored it and spent the day with her, running errands, laughing, rediscovering pieces of myself I'd buried. That evening, Nathan's car was in the driveway when I got home. I parked on the street, bracing myself. He was pacing the living room, his face a mix of anger and desperation. You finally showed up, he said, his tone sharp. I live here, I replied, setting my purse down. What are you doing here? His voice softened, a calculated shift. We need to talk. This is out of hand. I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. What's out of hand, Nathan? Me standing up for myself? Or you realizing Isabel isn't the prize you thought? His jaw clenched, but he sat on the couch, running a hand through his hair. I messed up, okay? I wasn't thinking. We can work this out. I laughed, the sound bitter. Work this out. This isn't a spilled coffee, Nathan. This is years of you dismissing me, expecting me to smile through it. You don't get to. Decide we're okay now. Claire, please, he started, but I cut him off. Okay, you made your choice. Live with it. I grabbed my bag and headed upstairs, leaving him stunned. The next day, I packed his things, left them by the door, and called a locksmith. When Nathan returned that evening, still smug, I met him on the porch, a folder in hand. What's this? Hiding the papers. Your stuff, I said, pointing to the suitcase. And my lawyer's contact info. She'll be in touch. His face hardened, but he couldn't resist a final jab. You're pathetic, Claire. You'll fall apart without me. I smiled, unfazed. We'll see. Now get off my property. He stared, his confidence crumbling, then grabbed his suitcase and left. The house felt lighter in the days that followed, like it could breathe again. I dove into work, reconnected with friends, and leaned on Rachel, who was thrilled. Good riddance, she said, when I told her I'd kicked Nathan out. He was dragging you down. You're free now. She was right, but late at night, doubts crept in. Had I been too hasty? Would I regret this? Those thoughts faded when Nathan called, his voice strained. Claire, we need to talk. What do you want? I asked, already weary. It's Isabel, he said, bitterness seeping through. She's gone. She laughed at me, called me a loser for throwing you away, said I was an idiot for losing the cabin. I grinned. That must have hurt. He pressed on, ignoring my jab. She called me pathetic, said I ruined everything. Then she walked out. The irony was delicious Nathan, who'd mocked me, now humbled by his own choices. And you're telling me this because, I asked, my tone icy. I screwed up, Claire. Big time. Can we talk? I shook my head, though he couldn't. See, no, Nathan, you made your bed, lie in it. I hung up the silence, a sweet victory. That night, sipping chamomile tea, I felt peace. Nathan's life was unraveling, but it wasn't my mess anymore. The divorce moved quickly. In her office, reviewing the final papers, I felt relief tinged with disbelief. He's got no leverage, Ellen said, scanning the documents. He knows he can't. Fight you. I smiled. Guess he's finally seen I'm not the pushover he thought. Leaving her office, I felt unburdened. That evening, Rachel arrived with wine and her usual flair. To Claire, she toasted, who sent Nathan packing and took her life back. I laughed, clinking glasses. To Rachel, who hasn't said, I told you so. Yet she grinned. Not yet. We talked late my future, her adventures, Nathan's downfall. Think he's still crying over Isabel? She asked, smirking. Probably, I said, chuckling. No wife, no cabin, no fling. I almost feel bad. Almost, she echoed, and we burst into laughter. Alone later, I reflected. The old Claire, desperate for Nathan's approval, was gone. I was someone new, laughing at his failures, embracing my strength. The weeks after were a whirlwind of change, but it was my whirlwind. I visited the cabin, a cozy retreat nestled in the Rockies, pines whispering around it. It was mine now, not a shared dream, but a symbol of my independence. Spent a weekend there, arranging furniture, savoring the crisp air. Rachel visited the next weekend, awestruck. This place is incredible, she said, spinning in the living room. How'd you keep it secret? I wanted it perfect, I admitted. And I was scared Nathan would ruin it. She flopped. On the couch, it's perfect now, and it's all yours. Her words warmed me. I deserved this, not just the cabin, but the life I was building. Over the months, I rediscovered myself. I took up watercolor painting, capturing the mountain's hues on canvas. I joined a hiking group, relishing the burn in my legs, moving for me, not to impress anyone. I traveled weekends in Boulders, cafes, a week in Santa Fe's markets because I wanted to, not to check a box. Each choice was a rebellion against the Claire I'd been, the one who dimmed her light for Nathan. One evening. On the cabin's deck with a glass of Pinot Grigio, I reflected on the past. There was no anger, just gratitude for the lessons and the freedom they'd brought. Life settled into a rhythm. The cabin became my sanctuary. For quiet nights or lively gatherings with friends, Rachel visited often, her stories a joy. You're different now, she said one night by the fire pit, the stars blazing above. How so? I asked, curious. She grinned. Old Claire was always fussing, making sure everyone else was okay. This Claire, she's calm, happy, living for herself. I laughed, sipping my wine. I learned I can't make everyone happy. Pleasing Nathan was like pouring water into a cracked bucket, never enough. That freedom spilled into work. Started freelancing, something Nathan had scoffed at as unstable. The autonomy was exhilarating. A design firm hired me too. Lead a branding workshop, and the experience reignited my confidence. Why not start your own firm? The CEO asked afterward. The question lingered. Weeks later, with Rachel's encouragement, I launched Apex Consulting. Like the peak you're climbing, Rachel said, eyes bright. You're unstoppable. Building Apex was daunting but thrilling. Every client, every project was proof of my resilience. I was no longer defined by Nathan's doubts or my own. One night, working on the deck, my phone buzzed. Text from Nathan, asterisk, can we talk? I deleted it without hesitation. Some doors were better closed. 6 months after leaving him, I stood on the deck, watching the sunset paint the mountains in gold and crimson. Apex was thriving. My schedule full, but mine to shape. Rachel visited that night, bringing pastries. You know, she said, setting them down. Nathan, did you a favor? I laughed, pouring wine. By being a jerk. Maybe if he hadn't, I'd still be stuck trying to please him. She raised her glass. To Nathan, the idiot who set you free. We clinked, laughing. But her words sank in. I'd transformed not just by escaping him, but by rediscovering myself under the stars. I jotted down plans a new campaign for Apex, trips to Iceland and Peru, dreams I'd once shelved. Closing the notebook, I realized I wasn't just free from Nathan. I was free from the fears that had kept me small. A month later, an email arrived. A conference wanted me to give a keynote on my entrepreneurial journey. I hesitated. Public speaking had always scared me. Nathan's taunts about my nervous babbling echoing. But I replied, I'd be honored. With Rachel's coaching, I crafted a raw speech. Be real, she said. The struggles, the wins, that's what connects. At the conference, nerves buzzing. I stepped onto the stage. My name's Claire, and a year ago I couldn't imagine being here. I was trapped, trying to please someone who didn't value me. Today, I'm here because I chose myself. The audience leaned in, nodding, some taking notes. I shared Apex's story, my lows and highs, my voice steady. Afterward, a woman approached, eyes shining. You inspired me, she said. Thank you for showing it's never too late to start over. Her words anchored me, proved my story mattered. That night on the cabin's deck, I reflected on the journey, the betrayal, the pain, the triumph. Nathan was a ghost, his messages ignored, his influence gone. I didn't need his validation or anyone's. I'd built a life I loved, step by step, and it was just the beginning. The scrapbook, once a symbol of my heartbreak, was now a testament to my strength. I was writing my story, and every word was mine.